In today's lesson, we're going to continue talking about compound shapes. In our practice today, we're focusing on finding the area of shaded region in each figure. As you look at your assignment, you would notice that your shapes that we're going to be working with are very uniquely designed, and they seem to be missing a piece. So the challenge of today is to identify what was your original shape and what has been changed, how it has been adjusted. Okay? We're still using the term compound shape because there's not a simple way to describe what we see in front of us. Let's get to work. I'm going to go ahead and focus on the question number 1. And so what we are starting with here is a rectangular shape. Okay, so in the beginning there was a very basic rectangular shape. And so I know how to deal with rectangular objects. Area would be base times the height. So before we move on, I just wanted to mention that in my explanation and in your thinking, I would like for us to make sure that we notice that we're going to use the terms base and height, not length and width. You're going to see this formula in your star chart, in your reference materials. So kind of keep that in mind. So base and height have very important relationship. 90-degree angle always exists. Okay. And so when we multiply these two values, so base is 20, height is 12, we're going to get 240 square feet. So after this rectangle has been identified, we notice that we are missing a triangular shape right here. We have a missing triangle. So step number 2, let's get working with this triangle. I like having my shapes outside so I can really work with them and identify and label them. So the height of this triangle is 6. And this measure, guys, is 4. You might say, how? How do we know this? Don't forget, altogether, it's 20. 8 and 8 is 16. 16 subtracted from 20 will give us a 4. So now I have base times height divided by 2, which would be 4 times 6 is 24 divided by 2, 12 square feet. So this triangular area has been removed from the whole rectangle in the very beginning. So the area would be 240 minus 12. That will give us 228 square inches. So make sure that you identify and you are writing down what were your shapes, your formulas, find each area, and then subtract. Because the area has been reduced. Question 2. Love the shape and love the simplicity of it. Look what we have. I'm going to start by identifying what did I have in the very beginning. And it was a parallelogram. The measurements for this parallelogram were 18 by 10. Parallelograms have the formula or use the formula area of a rectangular shape, which would be 18 times 10. These are my numbers. That's going to give us 180 square feet. All right, step number 2. So we had a parallelogram, and now we see that we are missing a piece from this side right here that looks like a triangle. So let's break down what kind of triangle did we have, or do we have that was missing. So this triangle right here has the measure of 6. I know it from here. This is the measure. This measurement is blank, but we are remembering that parallelogram have two sets of congruent and parallel sides. So that means if this is 18 feet, this is going to be 18 feet. And here's your triangle with its measurements. Area is base times height divided by 2. From here we have 18 times 6 divided by 2. That will give us 54 square feet. Okay, so the triangle has been taken out of this parallelogram. So we're going to be subtracting. 180 minus 54 will give us 126 square feet. Shape number 3. We have a triangle that lost its middle section. We have a circle cut out of this triangle. All right. So once again, we're starting with a triangle, labeling all of the measurements. 16 by 19. Okay. Base times height divided by 2. 19, 16 divided by 2, that gives me 152 square yards. All right, next step is to find area of the circle that has been taken out of the triangle. So I'm not going to copy this circle. I just kind of wanted to just kind of make it a little bit more bold right here and just do some labeling. This measure right here, we've taken lots of time analyzing this this circles. So this measure is measure of radius. So it's ready for us to use in our area formula. Pi r squared. Pi times 5 squared will give us the value for the area equaling 78.5 square yards. Area of a triangle minus area of a circle. 152 minus 78.5 will give you 73.5 square yards. Example number 4. Back to circles. Still analyzing the circles. And I would like for us to start by drawing that circle separately from our picture, from our main picture. Okay. So in our circles, we really need to make sure we identify what measure we're using. And do we have a radius measure or do we have a diameter measure? So I want to make sure that you're realizing where your measurements are coming from. 26, this measurement right here, guys, is what we have to use for our work. 26 inches is our diameter. I'm going to go ahead and make a quick adjustment because radius is what we're going to have to use for our area calculation. Pi r squared. Pi times 13 squared, which would be pi times 169 for the total area of 530 and 6,600 square inches. That is the large area of our original circle. That's what we started to work with. And then the trapezoid was removed from the center of our triangle, of our circle. Okay, trapezoid was removed. So I'm not going to redraw the trapezoid. I'm going to just make sure to label it. So trapezoids have two bases. Super important. Don't stress which base is first, which base is second. It does not matter because you are simply going to be adding these two numbers. So no stress. Base 1, base 2. 5 inches right here is your height. Let's put these numbers to work. Your formula says height times sum of the bases, we're going to add them together, divide by 2. Let's plug in the numbers. 19 plus 26, divide by 2. And this will give you the value of 112 and a half square inches. And just like we've observed before, large area minus the small area that has been removed. 530 and 66 hundredths minus 112 and a half will give you the value of 418 and 16 square inches. If you find that your worksheet is really cluttered, I definitely welcome you to write these steps on a separate piece of paper and kind of keep it attached, but try to organize your area and your worksheet as you need. All right, question number 5. So, first step, what do we have in the beginning? In the beginning, we had a nice basic square that was measured 25 by 25 feet. Yay! Done and done. Our squares, or our rectangles, they all have, and parallelograms, all have very basic formula, base times height. So 25 times 25 will give us an area of 625 square feet. I hope you remember this one because this is one of our perfect squares that we have learned in the beginning of the year. Then we had a parallelogram taken out, and so our parallelogram also has the area, so 13 by 10 are the measurements, and it also has the area formula of base times height, so 13 times 10 will give us 130. Easy breezy. 625 minus 130 will give us the final area of 495 square feet. And the last shape, shape number 6. So for question 6, once again, I am going to start at the very beginning. There was a rectangular shape measured 11 by 22. And yes, hopefully you guys have seen the resemblance. We just did something really similar in our first scenario. Then there was a triangle taken out of it. Okay? So definitely you're going to see lots of, I don't want to say same information, but you are using the same kind of concepts. Two shapes. One is reducing the area of the other, creating that little shaded area, and so on. So let's come back to the first shape. So we have a formula that we use, base times the height. So we would have 11 times 22 for the area of 242 square yards. And then the triangle has been removed from this rectangular section. So this measure, guys, right here, I've labeled my height, but this measure right here, hopefully we are all comfortable with this, is going to be 11. So now when I'm working on my area, I'm not wondering where in the world it's coming from because parallel sides are congruent. Base times height divided by 2. So let me adjust my notes just a little bit. And so we are going to see 11 times 5 divided by 2 will give us 27.5 square yards. And once again, we know that that was removed